Hi, this is Ray with LCMFG, and today we're going to be showing you guys the process that we use to get this R34 engine bay painted.
All right, cool. So we got Joshua over here, Ray's assistant / fiberglass god.
Yeah.
Looks like the first step is take off stickers.
Oh,
it might be self-explanatory, but some people actually paint right over them, right, Ray?
Yep, or some people choose to tape them off so that you got your original stickers on there, but we typically get rid of them here. So.
What exactly is undercoating? Show me. Come down here.
Undercoating is gonna be this stuff here that looks like a little bit texture and rough. So it's like a layer of protection, like from rock chips from the tires going and hitting stuff and scraping and stuff. So they put this coating on, and it kind of keeps everything uniform and protected and doesn't scratch easy. But eventually they start getting like this, where it's like missing in areas after so long. And
yeah, like I can't even explain like.
Yeah.
Like what happened here?
Yeah, it just starts peeling and just getting old. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna prep all this, like roughen it all up and start taping and shoot new undercoating under everything, and that keeps everything nice and protected again.
So it protects against rust as well? Or you have to seal it beforehand?
It depends. Some of it does, but it depends what brand you get and stuff. Usually if you want to do rust protection, then yeah, you would either prime some of the areas before you do that, or you can alternatively use the rust, what is it called, inhibitor?
Yeah.
And use some of that in those areas, and then go ahead and shoot your undercoating over it.
So for something like this, it's pretty rust free. Anything that's on there would be surface rust and would come off the wire wheel.
Yep.
And then you would just cover straight over it, since this isn't like a shiny surface that you're gonna see if you got layers on it. It's a textured surface, so uneven, like you're not gonna scrape that all the way off, you're just gonna scuff it up so the material actually sticks.
Ideally, if you were trying to do like a perfect job, you'd want to get rid of that old stuff, but you don't have to. It does work over the old stuff as long as you scuff it all up. At least it works for us. We haven't had any issues doing that. That's how we're gonna do it, and that saves us a little bit of time, and the product at the end comes out really nice. So step one right now is gonna be to get this dolly off and put it on jack stands, because we're gonna be undercoating this as well. So we need this out of the way to prep it and kind of make space. Probably have the jack stands back there somewhere. So right now we're just kind of putting this harness away, because we're going to be working in this area and we don't want to have any of these wiring get in the way or get messed up or anything. So my process for doing this is we're just going to kind of pull this out of here.
Where do you put that?
The harness?
Yeah.
You can usually put it like on a trash bag and then tape the trash bag, and that kind of keeps it away. Or you can use paper and just wrap it in paper a bunch of times.
Or you're just gonna leave it like just there?
It kind of does need to just go there so you have room to paint and do whatever you got to do. So as long as it's covered though, so you don't get any other connections messed up or anything. So that's pretty much the main purpose.
How about that rubber grommet?
Rubber grommet either gets taped up or you can remove it. It's very easy to remove, and then you can get behind it and stuff. So it's up to you. You can tape it or remove it. So in this case, I think we'll be probably removing it. So yeah, it's easy. So. For this stuff, what I typically use is an angle grinder with like 36 grit.
It's a 36 grit?
Yeah, this is like 36 grit or so, I believe.
So pretty much glue and like whatever rocks you found outside.
Basically, yeah. Sidewalk stuff, yeah. And then we got wire wheels, and this kind of helps to get in areas like this, get all that stuff out of there. Same with this one. It's just gives you a little more reach in certain areas. And the typical DA with like 80 grit, this just kind of helps you get more areas faster, and also kind of helps you smooth them out a little bit more than your 36 grit or these does. I usually finish up with this and then by hand. After you're done with all this, then you get like a 40 grit or 80 grit, and you just go by hand and get everything you might have missed with this stuff, and then blow it off, clean it, and you're basically ready to tape up and do your wrap the liner or the liner that you're gonna use.
Hi, Chris.
Howdy.
What you doing?
Johan came over here and taught me how to use the powder coater. So hood hinges, engine mount brackets, power steering brackets, sway bar brackets, everything in here. Looking brand new now. This is the OEM Nissan Storm Black is what they call it. That's hot.
Wow, it's really hot in here. What's that?
It's crazy. It's like almost 400 degrees, I would say, if I had to guess. You don't want to get touched by that door either. I made that mistake once.
Yeah, the door looks really hot. I was about to push it out of the way. Luckily, Ray was behind me, opened it more. Oh, even the motor mounts?
Yeah, motor mount brackets had to get cleaned up. They're okay, but not up to our standards, you know?
Bling and Booth. Thanks to Booth, we got it on tape.
I'm vlogging.
That's how you paint?
Yeah. This is before. How's that?
So we want to cover all these holes and stuff because when we're shooting the Raptor liner or any liner that you're shooting, you don't want it to get through the holes and cause any issues, you know, to, let's say this was already painted, you know, you don't want to mess it up, and that stuff's really hard to get off once it hardens. So you want to protect as much stuff as you can, so that's why you seal all the holes.
All right, looking like a science experiment over here. We got chemicals, fill cups, applicator, and array.
Yeah, you can get a bunch of these. Just make sure you read your instructions. Every one of them is different. This one calls for a cup at 237 ml. So you just basically pour that in here, and then you make sure you shake it really well and put the gun in there, and you're basically ready to shoot. It's very simple and easy, dries fast. The only detail for when you're shooting it, I would say, is just don't go too heavy. Just kind of work the coats out. Like 2 coats is pretty much good enough.
Yeah. We've got bartender over here.
Well, it's the only
Yeah,
way.
like the technique and everything.
It's the only way you can shake this without, you know, looking sus. One thing to note is that this hole here stays open. Sometimes, like by you spraying, moving the gun, that hole becomes closed and then starts shooting really weird. That's usually why. So, yeah, make sure you keep an eye on that hole.
Or don't flip it upside down either.
Yeah, don't flip it.
Stuff can happen. Yeah.
Some things happen, yeah. That's pretty much the most you're gonna get, and that's kind of how you're gonna shoot it. And then you're gonna put like 2 coats of it and kind of keep building it up.
Ray, I know you said it doesn't matter for a mask, but obviously shoot it in a well-ventilated area.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Make sure like we have all the doors open, we got our fan blowing out, so you know, at least have that. Don't do this in any environment where it's closed off, because yeah, that might not be good for you. So.
Bueno, vamos a ver, yo nunca he hecho esto.
So it's already dry enough to start unwrapping?
It's a little tacky still, but yeah. I like to usually get it off like this so it doesn't peel off or anything weird. Yeah, I'm just prepping all this stuff up for Bodywork right now, so just kind of roughing it up so I can start putting Bond over it, smoothing all these edges out. Same with that side there.
You got your safety glasses on.
Yeah, I needed something to put on. The point of this is just to smooth everything out, and you know, so everything looks more uniform. And then we prime it, and that kind of seals everything in so it doesn't rust out. And then tomorrow we should be prepping the whole engine bay and getting ready for paint.
So Ray, when it comes to Bondo, directly on metal or over primer?
Over primer is probably the safest bet, but if you're gonna apply it right away and you're not gonna wait a while and it's not very humid where you're at, you can apply it over metal. The can itself says to apply it over metal, but I find that some people that apply it over metal and they wait too long, moisture gets into the metal, and then you put the Bondo over it, and then that moisture starts creating rust underneath the Bondo. And so that's why you see a lot of cars like with Bondo that comes off and it's rusty underneath it. But the safest bet is to prime it and then you go ahead and apply your Bondo. So if I was gonna say take lunch right now, I would prime it before I left lunch, just so I wouldn't get moisture in the raw metal and create any issues. This is a mixture of Duraglass and Bondo. So I do this because it just creates a stronger material for me to use over that. Not everybody does this. I do this because it works for me, gives me good results. That's important to know here, that not everything I do or we do is like the proper or best way, but it's the way that we get good results doing it. There's other ways to do this. There's a lot of ways to do this.
Is it true you can add a little bit more hardener to speed up the process?
No.
No?
No,
It's a myth. I've heard that.
it works, but it really heat is what dries it fast. Like if you're in a 90-degree weather or higher than that, like especially here in Florida, like where it's really hot, this stuff dries very, very fast. When it's cold though, this stuff takes forever to dry. It doesn't matter how much hardener you add, it will not dry quickly. So that's a good consistency there. Also, don't stir this. Always fold it, because when you stir it, you get air bubbles in there, in the Bondo. So don't try not to stir it. I'm just spreading this over areas that I see that are rough, and I could make smooth out by doing this and make them nicer. So all this stuff should sand out and look better.
Well, they be fancy.
What do we have down in here?
I'm just looking. Nice fancy new rocker guard.
Right? It's nice. It's really nice.
Keeps it nice and clean looking.
Yeah, who would have known?
Who would have known? Just simple things.
Yeah,
Make that build that much better.
I want to do the whole underside of a car now.
The whole underside. That's a bit more, but you can definitely do it.
Bro, you weren't even joking. It's only been like 2 minutes and the stuff has turned into Play-Doh.
A little bit Play-Doh, yeah. But this will harden like a rock. The longer we wait, it'll turn into a rock. Yeah, next we just wait for this to dry about 10 to 15 minutes, and then we start sanding it with 80 grit, kind of smoothing everything out. Should be ready for glaze after that. We use glaze to fill in any pinholes that are remaining from the Bondo, because no matter what, you're always gonna have a couple pinholes here and there and imperfections on this step. So then you go back over with glaze, which is basically Bondo but thinner, so it fills in pinholes and things like that. So basically I like to use a DA to kind of get me, like, I would say 90% of the way there. Don't use a DA obviously to shape your Bondo. You're gonna have waviness everywhere, so if you're gonna do that, always go back over with a block. In this case, I'm using a soft block because this is a hard area to kind of keep a hard block on there. I'm just kind of making sure I shape it as best as I can, and using this to kind of block everything out. And then I'm gonna go back over with some glaze to kind of fill in any other little imperfections that I might have missed.
So sanding process, doing some 320 over here on the DA.
Yeah.
And then as far as primer, do you do that?
So as you can see, we did some primer on the areas where we did bodywork. So obviously that stuff needs it, because anything that you do 180 over, you're gonna have to prime. You're not gonna get away with painting over 180. You'll always see the sand mark scratches. So in this particular bay, it's actually pretty decent besides the spots that we did. So we can get away with doing 320 grit and then sealing that with sealer, which is essentially like a thinner primer. And then you can lay your base coat over that, and that makes things, lay out nicer once you start doing your base coat and your clear coat. So
And for like spots like this where it's like kind of bare metal,
yeah.
like it covers that and prevents.
Yeah, yep. This is essentially a primer while you're shooting over it. It's just a really over reduced primer, and that takes care of a lot of the metal stuff that's showing, and it provides a nice even layer, you know, so you can lay your base coat over. So this doesn't work for every engine base. Some engine base, most engine base, you're gonna have to sand them with 180 or do a lot more work, intensive work. And you're gonna have to prime the whole base, and then you're gonna have to obviously sand that again with like either 320, 400, 600, whatever grit that you wanna finish it at. And then, you know, start your painting process. So, you know, some of the base you're gonna encounter, you're gonna have to do that. This is one of the easy ones, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So like easier than this would be just like a scuff and spray. But that's if you don't want like showroom quality. You know?
I mean, essentially this is what this is.
Yeah.
We're basically scuffing this up with 320 and then a scuff pad. And the only thing that needed primer was really the areas we did bodywork to. But essentially this is what this is. Easy, pretty much the easier as it gets with this.
All right, guys, so I was gonna record all of the sanding because you guys have been at it for at least the whole day now. But Ray made a huge point. Josh said I should film it.
So yeah, basically when you're doing this kind of work, like me and him, we're used to working with each other. So for example, I was doing the outside of the chassis while he was doing the inside. So now we switch because oftentimes I'll miss things and he'll catch it, or he'll miss something and I'll catch it. The important thing is when you get the car in the booth, once you miss something, like for example, let's say something's not sanded here and it's rough and you go to paint it, you'll see it. And so you'll be like, damn, I should have took care of that, or like I should have sanded that. So it's important not to rush the prep process and the sanding process, because once you get it in the booth, you're gonna regret it because you're not gonna get a good finished product. That's why we do it like this. We'll switch sides and then he'll go on the outside, go back on the inside, and I'll get what he missed and, you know, he'll get what I missed. We get a more uniform, you know, perfectly sanded engine bay that's, you know, ready to go.
My camera hates this shot. The light changed like 40 times as you're talking. I'm sorry, YouTube. Just bear with me.
So this step is really important, like to make sure you clean it with a soap like Dawn that doesn't really have any like chemicals like with silicones or waxes. Stay away from waxes and silicones when you're doing paint work. That kind of messes up your work because it just doesn't mix well with paint. Washing the car with this stuff gets rid of any oils from your hands, or oils like, you know, like you could lean on this and, you know, your sweat and stuff, it'll get rid of all that, and just any potential contaminant that could get on the paint, you know, and mess things up. So yeah, very important step. Don't skip it. Always, if you can, pressure wash it with Dawn, and you'll be all right.
More tape.
This part takes a long time.
I'm gonna jump in. That's how you get in there?
Yep. Next step is wax and grease remover. Your local paint store will have this, and this is basically the last step you do before you start laying any paint on anywhere. It kind of gets rid of any contaminants that are left over. Even though we washed it and everything, we now been taping everywhere and putting our hands everywhere, so this gets rid of those handprints or possible oils that could have gotten on somewhere, or any missed things, you know. So always do this step, very important.
Let's get some of that ASMR. Oh, copyright.
Now I can sue you.
Mm-hmm.
That's how money is
It's
made.
what's it called? It's my intellectual property.
That is how money is made in America.
Yep, sue everybody. So Ray's gonna walk us through mixing paint because it doesn't come out of the gallon like that, huh?
It does not. You can get it ready to shoot, but we prefer to get it so you can add your own reducers and mix it the way you want to mix it. Typically, when you get paint from a paint store, it's over reduced, which you won't want because it doesn't provide good coverage, and it also like just doesn't lay how you want it. That's what I found out like from buying paint that's ready to do. Right now we're about to make some sealer, and something that I've been doing that's been working for me, maybe I'll tip for you guys that I didn't know but works for me. This is 1K primer. Basically what I do is I start with this. So this primer, you mix it with reducer or thinner, and then you shoot it, and you don't need to add hardener. That's why it's 1K. 2K means that it's mixed with an activator or a hardener or something. So we start with this, and technically if we put a reducer on there, we're ready to shoot, right? So the next thing I do is to try to match the color a little bit closer as a sealer. This is old paint that we've already shot on that car before. So we'll pour some of this paint in there, and that's just so you don't let it all go to waste, you know. What I essentially did was I tinted the sealer from gray and made it a little bit dark. So when I lay this on the car now, and then I go and shoot my base coat over it, it all covers easier because it's closer to that color than, you know, previously. I kind of do this the same way I would do it to base coat, and that's the point of this. You don't want to mix it like a primer because you're gonna use it as a sealer. So if you're gonna use it as a sealer, you have to reduce it like you would your regular base coat. It should not be thick. What about that consistency?
So you're doing the trick that the painters know when it starts running off the stick?
Yeah, that's how I kind of look at it. Like right now for me, it could be a little less reduced. That's a little bit over for me, but that would still do the job. So like if you needed to make it a little thicker, then obviously just add a little bit more of the primer because it's really thick, and then add a little more of the color, and that would just kind of give you a little bit more, and it makes it a little bit thicker. You can buy sealer pre-done, like already made, and you just put it in your gun and shoot it. They also have 2K sealers that activate with activator. I don't like to use those because I find that when you use the 2K sealers, it creates a lot of texture because it has a hardener in it. So I find that it gives you a little more orange peel versus this, it lays really flat. So I get the same benefit of the sealer minus, you know, the texture. That's about where I like it at. Always trying new stuff, especially primers.
This primer is really thick.
It's not just because it's thick, but you'll see it right now. You see a lot of stuff on here on the strainer.
These numbers on here.
Those numbers here,
What are numbers?
it definitely means something. Typically, whenever you buy paint, you'll see it right here. For example, this is a 100 to 100 mixture, 1-to-1. So you could find this on here, right there, right? So if I went to that 4, I will be going according to this in the next 4, or actually, so the actual, this is 5, so the next 5, for example. 4 will be right here, which is hidden, you can't really see right now. So basically what the 1-to-1 means is equal part. So if I put this much base coat, I'm gonna put that much reducer. And if you're unsure about how you mix your paints, because all paints are all different depending what brands you get and stuff, always refer to your data sheets. You can ask any paint store for it, and it'll tell you all the details, like how many coats, how long it takes to dry, what PSI to shoot it at, what parts it needs to be mixed with. Like this one, for example, says 4-1-1, and it tells you what to add on each one of those. So this is very important if you don't know what to, you know, do with your paints, or you're confused, or you got a lot of people telling you different things. Always refer to this. I do it this way because I've done this so long, I already know what to do and to get my results, you know, how I like it. That doesn't always work for everybody, but always refer to that. That is the correct way to do it. Every paint store will supply you with that if you ask for it.
now the base coat is done. What's next?
Clear coat. Here's what you need to know about clear coat. They're all very different, they all mix different, and they are all kind of what you like. If you find a clear that you like how it shoots, you like how it lays, then go ahead and use that. I get really good results with this here clear. There's a lot of different kinds of clears, like prices range from like, I don't know, $60 to like $1,000. This one's like $100. That one there is like 800. You know, so it's a lot of different ranges. It depends on what you're doing. Just because it's a $100 clear doesn't mean that it's bad, especially for an engine bay that's not gonna really see a lot of sunlight. So as far as how to use it, you got your instructions right here. Follow that. So it's 4 parts. This, 1 part. This. Pretty simple. So it's 4 to 1. So you find your 4 to 1 on the cup, which is right here. As you can see, there's a bunch of different ratios. So you want to find the one that is for your clear. This one's 4 to 1, so we're gonna use that. And we're gonna go ahead and put this in. We're gonna bring it to this 5. We could bring it to this 5 if we wanted to make a little bit less. But we wanna make the most we can right now because we wanna run out in between. So I'm gonna take it to the second 5, and then this gets added to the next 5. That's 4 to 1, that's it. So we'll mix that now. This would be the next part to this 5. And then on the cup itself, you can see where it says 10%, 20%. That's for reducer. Some clears call for a little bit of reducer because they're really thick. And so they lay better if you add a little bit of reducer to it. This particular clear is already pretty kind of watery. So this is not a clear I would recommend reducing, and it doesn't call for it as well, so I wouldn't do it. So you can see the consistency is pretty watery. Higher solid clears like EPG or something like that, those would be a little bit thicker, and like on the last coat I like to add a little bit of reducer to kind of make it easier to shoot, and so it lays a little bit better. See how orange peel on some paint jobs, most of the times it's because they're using a good clear. Is typically what it is. Those cars get wet sanded and buff, and then you don't really see that. So, you know, there's that.
Got Johan. What do you think? What do you think?
Johan. It looks good. It's black.
Oh yeah, but it's shiny and black. Look, you can see me. Look at that everywhere. Like, what engine bay can you, like, you don't need a mirror anymore. Like, take all the mirrors out of your house. You got this engine bay. It's sparkly black too. All right, so you showed us exactly what it takes from start to finish on how to achieve these results. So far, what I've learned, it's 98% prep, cover everything up, and maybe a whole hour or 2 of shooting.
Yeah, shooting is, so I would say it's the simplest part, but it's the most skilled part. The other part is like tedious, takes time, and you gotta also do it right. But the shooting itself, it actually just takes skill to do a good job at it. Like, you know, you can mess everything you've done up to that point if you don't know what you're doing, you know, when you're painting it. So it's all has to come together at the end. So yeah, I think it came out pretty good, pretty happy with it.
Yeah, for sure. It looks freaking phenomenal. But yeah, I'm sure that you've taught everybody on this video, as well as myself, a lot of lessons when it comes to paint work, just only on an engine bay. I can't imagine a whole car.
Yeah, and remember, this is how I do it. It's not like, you know, the proper or best way to do it, but it's how I get these results, and it works for what I do. But Yeah, the best thing to do is find a way that gets you the results you want and keep getting better at it, you know. So just keep pushing that until you get comfortable doing it, and that's really it.
Thank you for being on our channel, and thank you for showing us the whole process.
Thank you guys.
And if people have questions and stuff, do you have a YouTube channel that you can at least reply in the comments of our video?
No.
No. I'll probably put your Instagram somewhere, so prepare for
Yeah,
that.
they can message me on Instagram or something if they have questions. Like I'm active on there. That's V86 Customs. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ray.
Yeah.